Coming from families of completely opposite classes, David grew up surrounded by luxury and comfort, while Lucas grew up in a simple and humble family. But after 24 years, the discovery that they were switched in the maternity ward would completely change their lives. In the quiet jazz bar, the soft chords of the guitar filled the air, enveloping everyone in a captivating melody. Sitting on the small stage, Lucas plucked the strings skillfully, giving himself to the music with an overwhelming passion. His calloused fingers slid across the strings of his old guitar, while his hoarse voice poured emotion into each note. Meanwhile, in one of the city's most elegant neighborhoods, the Alameda family mansion vibrated with loud music, raucous laughter, and bubbling champagne. David, surrounded by a crowd of rich and frivolous friends, flaunted his wealth and carelessness. With a smug smile, he raised his crystal glass, toasting his own short-lived success. His world was a symphony of privileges and luxuries. Shiny cars filled his garage, and his parties were legendary, filled with people seeking to be part of his elitist circle. He wrapped himself in a facade of superiority, looking down on those who did not share his social standing. Lucas and David, despite their contrasting realities, were about to have their destinies intertwined in an unimaginable way. The paths of the young people, so different in their essence, were destined to meet, even if they didn't know it yet. While Lucas worked hard to earn a living in the city's bars and parties, David enjoyed the privileges that his family's fortune provided him. The contrast between their lives was undeniable, as if they belonged to two different worlds which coexisted in the same city. Lucas, driven by his passion for music and the desire to give his parents a better life, kept his dreams alive amid the financial difficulties he faced. His eyes shone with the hope that one day, his songs would touch the hearts of thousands of people, while his calloused hands showed the persistence of his tireless search for success. On the other hand, David was enveloped in a fog of arrogance and superficiality. His life was full of parties and fleeting relationships. He didn't need to fight to achieve his goals, as everything was served to him on a silver platter. His life was made up of the absence of purpose, which he didn't allow himself to see. Despite the simplicity and humble life that Lucas's family led, Mrs. Almeida, Lucas's mother, wanted to surprise him with a small cupcake on his 24th birthday as soon as he arrived home. Lucas had left early, looking for opportunities to sing in the city's bars and parties. It was his birthday, but he couldn't afford to take the day off, since he was in dire need of money to pay the household bills. While Lucas walked under the scorching sun, looking for work, David immersed himself in an extravagant party, celebrating his birthday. He was in a large pool with friends when a brilliant idea crossed his spoiled mind. He decided to hire a singer to perform live during the night at his party, believing it would elevate his status and entertainment. This decision would begin a chain of events which would unite two divergent lives in an unexpected path. Because he has an incredible and unparalleled voice, Lucas was recommended by a party representative who already knew him. The amount that was being offered was tempting, and without hesitation, he embraced the opportunity to play in a grand setting, even if it meant spending his birthday away from his family. It was already short notice, and Lucas had to hurry to get home and prepare for that big presentation. As soon as he arrived home, he was greeted by his parents. They were happy and excited for that special date. However, Lucas could barely pay attention to them and explained that unfortunately, he would not be able to stay to celebrate his birthday with them, as a great work opportunity had arisen for that night. As always understanding, Lucas' parents understood the situation, despite initially feeling sad. Lucas hurriedly got ready, put on his best, albeit modest, clothes and headed to the Alameda family's imposing mansion. Upon arriving, he was amazed by the grandeur of the property and by the atmosphere of extravagance that hung in the air. He knew he was entering a world he wasn't used to. Upon passing through the immense gates, Lucas felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Music played throughout the mansion, inviting him to explore its sumptuous interior. But as soon as he took his first steps into the party, a shrill voice cut through his festive air. "Hey boy, who let you in? What are you doing here?" David's mother questioned, with a tone of contempt in her voice. Lucas swallowed, suddenly feeling small in front of that woman with an imposing posture. "I'm the singer hired for the birthday party. Nice to meet you. My name is Lucas." David's mother looked Lucas up and down with a disapproving look. "You can't perform at this party like that. Look at you, in those inappropriate clothes for the environment. His hiring must certainly have been a mistake. Please get out of here quickly before anyone sees you. I don't want to be embarrassed." Lucas's heart sank at those harsh words, and he felt a wave of humiliation and sadness course through his entire being. He apologized to that arrogant lady, and with a flushed face and teary eyes, Lucas left the mansion, leaving behind the sound of laughter and the charm of the party he so wanted to participate in. With heavy steps, Lucas returned home to the comfort of his family. There, he found comfort in the warm arms of his parents and the words of encouragement from his mother. The day he expected to be a new achievement was the most humiliating day he had. After what happened, Lucas decided to dedicate himself even more to music, improving his voice and his skills as a composer. He found strength in that humiliating experience, turning it into motivation to prove to everyone that they underestimated him. Despite his hard efforts to find work opportunities, his schedule was slow during the weekdays, so he took advantage of his free days to spend time with his parents. Lucas always liked to help his mother with the housework, but while the two were organizing their room, an unexpected thing happened. Lucas's mother was emotional, holding a box in her hands. His eyes were filled with tears, and a sweet smile lit up his face. Curious, Lucas questioned what was happening. In a soft and emotional voice, his mother replied that that box held the first clothes he had worn as soon as he was born. Lucas observed each piece with nostalgia. There were little clothes that gave off a delicious aroma, a soft and delicate blanket, little shoes so tiny that one day they covered your feet, and with it, there was a maternity bracelet. Everything was a symbolic record of the first moments of his life. However, something caught Lucas's attention. As he examined the bracelet more carefully, his attentive eyes widened and his heart quickened. The name on the bracelet was Maria das Graças Alameda. The surname did not correspond to that of his mother, who was called Maria das Graças Almeida. Both names were very similar, and a wave of perplexity and restlessness took over Lucas and his mother. Was it just a writing error, where they replaced Almeida with Alameda? Or was it possible that Lucas had been changed in the maternity ward? The two were scared and wondered about any possibility that could exist. Full of doubts, Lucas and his mother decided to look for answers in the place where it all began, the hospital where Lucas was born. Immediately, Lucas and his mother went to the hospital in search of answers. They walked through the familiar and unfamiliar corridors, their anxiety growing with each step. Finally, they arrived at the records wing and looked for the responsible team. Anxiously, they explained their suspicion and asked for any information that could confirm or refute the exchange in the maternity ward. The hospital staff looked at them with serious expressions, aware of the gravity of the situation. After a short wait, they brought out the old, dusty records from 24 years ago. They slowly leafed through the yellowed and fragile pages until they found Lucas's much sought-after birth record. Lucas and his mother's hearts seemed to want to jump out of their chests, while the hospital employee read aloud the information contained in the document. The words echoed through the small office, filling the space with a suspenseful silence. And then, finally, confirmation was given. Lucas had in fact been changed in the maternity ward. At that moment, his hands were shaking, and tears ran down his face. Mother and son felt a whirlwind of emotions. Lucas was the biological son of the wealthy Alameda family, while David, the arrogant and privileged, was actually the son of the poor Almeida family. The impact of this discovery was overwhelming for both families. When the successful Alameda family was notified, the news became a newspaper story reverberating throughout the city. They couldn't understand how this happened, but now they were faced with important information that would completely change their lives. Lucas, after discovering that he was heir to a fortune, did not hesitate to reaffirm his love and gratitude to the family that raised him with so much affection and dedication and did not abandon them. On the other hand, David began to face an existential crisis. His prejudices and his life of luxury gained new meaning in the face of the truth that now haunted him. It was difficult for him to accept that he came from a very humble family, and the fear of losing the luxurious life he had was now enormous. The discovery of the exchange in the maternity ward shook not only the lives of Lucas and David, but also that of the Almeida and Alameda families. Mrs. Alameda, Lucas's biological mother, felt completely ashamed for having unknowingly humiliated her own son, and now she was determined to make amends for the mistake she had made. Guided by regret, she decided to redeem herself and apologized to Lucas. Inside, Lucas felt relieved to have grown up away from so much arrogance, but he knew that regardless of anything, this was his biological mother, and for that he should forgive her. Recognizing her son's great talent, Maria Alameda decided to help Lucas on his journey to achieve his musical dreams. She needed to compensate in some way for the suffering caused by the past rejection. Lucas, with his heart full of love and compassion, accepted the offer. He knew he couldn't leave his foster family behind, but now he could finally give back by giving them a better life. Thus, Maria Alameda, who previously represented a figure of contempt and rejection in Lucas' life, now became his unlikely ally. She used her influence and connections in the music world to open doors for Lucas, introducing him to producers, agents, and record labels. With an undeniable talent, and with the help of his biological mother, in a short time, Lucas captivated the world of music. His name began to echo throughout the country, and his songs touched the hearts of thousands of people. He became a symbol of overcoming and inspiration, achieving the success he always dreamed of. Meanwhile, David gradually became closer to his biological family. He was determined to understand their lives and seek a genuine connection with his real parents. When diving into the Almeida family's reality, David was impacted by the stories of the difficulties they had experienced, by the resilience, and also by the love he found in that family with such humble origins, but who now, thanks to their son Lucas, were living a comfortable life. Getting closer to his biological parents made David feel loved, like he had never felt before, which made him completely change his way of thinking and seeing the world. He finally saw the superficiality in which he lived, and the masks he wore to hide the pain, and the emptiness that consumed so much. It was only after being welcomed by his biological family that he was able to understand that for all these years, he had received money instead of love. David, from then on, felt complete, and the emptiness he felt before was finally filled. If you found out that your child was swapped in the maternity ward, would you undo the swap? Leave your answer in the comments. Thanks for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story and which city you are watching us from. Leave your like and subscribe to our Storyflix Brazil channel so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. Until later.